The quality of Magic cards these days kind of sucks. Don't get me wrong, this game has always had issues. When it was just starting out, the balance was all over the place. Channels were printing mana to make giant fireballs, 40 lightning bolts and 20 mountains decks would kill you in 2 seconds, and Black Lotus was legal. But regardless of how jank the power level of the game was, the quality of the product was pretty high. Magic cards were dense, weighty, and had high quality control standards for a company that was practically still wearing diapers. Sure, every now and then there were small mistakes like centering problems, but overall it was a pretty impressive run. Now it's 2026, and the difference is night and day. We're getting massive print errors left and right. Huge quantities of cards have the same replicated issues over and over again. WotC has had 30 years to work on their quality control, but it looks like instead of improving over time, we're seeing it start to plummet. But it's easy to say that and harder to prove, so let's go through some examples. How about with misprints? I think we can all agree that misprints are a problem. When you open a pack, you want to be thinking about how excited you are to see what's inside. What's my rare going to be? Am I getting the best thing for the draft I'm in right now? Will I be able to finance my daughter's education with a serialized bitter blossom? This is when production quality is ideal. If quality starts to slip, you then begin to worry about, did they do a good job making my cards? Did they mess up cutting them out? Is there an issue with one of the layers of paint? Unfortunately, Magic cards are worse off today than ever in this department. There are a lot of common issues that have started to materialize in the printing process of recent sets. One of the most ubiquitous right now is the dreaded back tear. You've probably seen this before. It's an issue specific to foil dual-sided cards where the backsides have this distinctive thick tear across their centers. It's been a very frequent problem in Final Fantasy, Avatar, and most recently Lorwyn. It's not exactly clear what causes this, but the running theory is that rollers are causing the damage in the printing process by being run over foil cards before the previous layer of ink has finished drying. Whatever the reason though, these are becoming a frequent issue. Another problem child in modern print runs is crimping. This is where the top or bottom edge of a card is indented with a row of evenly spaced lines. This happens when the card gets caught in the mechanism that presses the edges of packs together and seals them. Crimping isn't a recent issue, here's an old memory jar to prove it, but the problem has certainly been growing in frequency recently. Avatar, Edge of Eternities, and especially Lorwyn Eclipsed are seeing huge influxes of inaccurate crimping. For some reason, there are a lot of issues going on with the holofoil stamp. From being misplaced to completely absent, they just can't seem to get them onto cards consistently. There's also this problem where sometimes they get stamped on in an Eclipse pattern. I'll admit it looks pretty fitting on a Lorwyn card, but still, it's a reoccurring issue that should be addressed. Miscutting and centering errors have also been at an all-time high. The information and formatting of the card is in the wrong place, usually skewed in one direction in a way that makes them look unbalanced. Sure, this has been a problem for some time, but I'm not sure we've been seeing entire Precons cut incorrectly on this scale. This has disproportionately affected Lorwyn's recent releases, but it also reaches much, much further. But Blartist, I hear you saying, what about the money? And yeah, I think we should talk about that. In the past, misprints have always had a kind of weird relationship with players. Sure, they're the result of clear mistakes on the part of WotC, but because they make those mistakes so infrequently, misprints become valuable as rare collectibles. They're a reminder that even a monolith like Hasbro is still fallible. Because of this, they sell for a lot. Collectors love misprints and would happily pay big money for especially egregious mistakes. So, pulling a misprint from a pack always had the silver lining of being more valuable than the card you were supposed to get. This leads to a win-win situation. If you like the misprint, you can keep it as a special collectible, but if you hated it, you could sell it and just buy the card you were supposed to get instead. Here's the issue with the new misprints. When overall production quality slips too far, the misprints become common, and the supply is too high. Now they're no longer rare or novel. It's just the same couple of defects all over the place. People don't end up really wanting them. Collectors especially don't see any reason to spend big money on something so common. Even the Facebook group for buying and selling misprints aren't very enthusiastic about the new material. Their prices can sometimes even dip below the original price point, making these common misprints closer to damaged cards than collectible ones. But even if they did sell for higher prices, this isn't an excuse. Having such a high frequency of repeated misprint errors shines a light on lax tolerances and quality control standards from the game's creators. That is a problem. Okay, done with misprints. Let's talk a little about Lorwyn's Precons. Design-wise, these things have been great. Everyone's loving their gameplay, and the new cards they bring to the table are exciting. The production side of things is a different story though. In particular, the Blight Curse Precon has had a rough time with print count. It's suffered a repeated issue where there are wrong quantities of cards in the deck. Missing upwards of 3 or 4 cards isn't uncommon for this product. Even if you get all 100 cards, you might have the wrong quantities of some. Extra copies of cards sometimes occupy deck space where others should be. A lot of people are talking about missing key cards like Auntie Ool or Reaper King No More. Don't worry though, it looks like this guy found them. He received a deck of what he claims was 49 Auntie Ools and 49 Reapers. Astounding. On top of this are other printing issues such as layers smearing or being misaligned, and sometimes, again, entire precons being miscut altogether. How does this happen? So, outside of misprints and precons, what else is wrong with Magic's quality these days? Foils. Foils have had a number of issues recently, see the roller problem from earlier, but undoubtedly the most intrusive is curling. Over time, foil cards will begin to bend, either concave or convex, rather than lay straight like normal Magic cards do. As far as I understand, this happens due to the fact that foil cards are essentially a layer of metal glued to a layer of cardstock. Metal and cardstock absorb water, and thus humidity, at different rates. The cardstock is more susceptible to growing and shrinking than the metal is. So, a foil card will bend as the humidity in the room changes compared to where it was manufactured. If you want a more in-depth analysis on this process, Ristic Studies has a fantastic video I'll be linking in the description on the topic. It's accepted to some degree that this is an issue that is not possible to entirely avoid. It's ingrained in the very way that foils are constructed. I think though that there's something to be said about the severity of curling with different card formulas. Over time, Magic has changed the formula for the materials that make up a card. Coinciding with these changes, older foil printings seem to be much less susceptible to curling than recent ones. Here's some cards from my personal Pringles can, a 2018 Traxos and a Pyre of Heroes from Kaldheim. These cards were only released 3 years apart, and yet there's a massive difference in their curling while both hanging out in the same environment. Funnily enough, because of issues with quality consistency, I can't tell if this is because of a formula change or differences in where it was made. People say foils minted in Japanese printing facilities seem to curl a lot less than others, but it's unclear to me if this is due to superior construction or just closer humidities to what we have in the States. I take the time to explain this to you because foil curling is a massive issue. If you're just collecting cards, then this doesn't affect much. It just makes them look a bit uglier. In gameplay though, have you tried to sleeve up a modern foil and use it? It's the most marked card you will ever play with. You cannot use these cards in any serious environment. It's not just that you'll be able to tell where it sits in the stack either. Depending on how bad it is, other cards will just slide off of it too. It's gotten to the point where I'm actively avoiding foils. One time, I ordered a Wand of Wonder online, and I was disappointed when they mistakenly shipped me a foil version. I knew in weeks it'd be unplayable. And yeah, sure enough, it curled like hell, and I had to trade for a replacement. The most sought-after versions of cards should not impose this kind of gameplay burden. Okay, this next one's not a materials issue, but it's hilarious to me and shows apathy about quality control. Some way, somehow, TMNT cards, which don't release for another 2 months by the way, snuck their way into Lorwyn's pre-release promos. This is the funniest thing in the universe. Imagine that you're a Magic purist. You may not be, but just pretend for a second. You're not a fan of Universes Beyond, and irritated that 4 of the 7 sets this year will be just that. But it's okay. Today is Lorwyn's pre-release at your LGS. You get to sit down, forget about Universes Beyond, open some packs, and spend some time in a setting with significance to Magic's history. Then you get handed a freaking shark shredder. You are never safe from Universes Beyond, no matter how far you run or how well you hide, even on your beloved Lorwyn special day. I think I might have burst a blood vessel if this happened to me. How on earth does this happen? How do wires get this crossed in distribution? This is such an insane occurrence that some people theorize it's a conspiracy to get TMNT more advertising, like the sneakest of previews. Considering the shifty way WotC's been operating recently, I don't put it past them, but I think it's more likely someone not having the time to get all the correct checks in place before rolling the product out. So, why is this happening? How can so many things be going wrong all at once? I think it comes down to numbers, namely employees versus products. Wizards of the Coast has been making more money than ever, and to our understanding is the only thing keeping Hasbro profitable. But profitable isn't good enough. WotC is being juiced for all they're worth. Originally, the plan was for them to be doubling their profit every year from 2018 to 2025. This is an insane expectation. Products can only sell so much, they can only be monetized so aggressively, and as your growth begins to stagnate, you have to think of ways to break into new markets. At this point, there is one guaranteed way to bring in more money. Slash your expenses. And to companies, people are expenses. This project is using 12 employees? Why 12? Can we do it with 10? With 8? What about less? We've seen massive layoffs from Wizards of the Coast over the years, the most brutal of which was an estimated 20% of their staff 2 weeks before Christmas in 2023. This kind of culling was probably unsustainable even with the old product schedules, but to make matters worse, product frequency is increasing. More secret layers, more sets, more development for Magic Arena. I don't think WotC, even with their pre-layoff workforce, was equipped to handle 7 sets a year, but without them, not a chance. And let's just say some of this does come down to apathy, that some people on the team aren't giving it their all. I still find it hard to blame the workers. Imagine you're at your job. Staff gets cut back in droves, and suddenly you're stuck doing the workload of 2 or 3 people. You're getting home late, burning the candle at both ends, and then someone throws another project onto your heap. Are you really putting your whole heart into that? I'm not certain I would. But that's just what I think. Let me know where I'm wrong about this in the comments below. Also, I'm 100% certain I'm forgetting some examples of quality oversight, so take a look down there for people pointing out how the list goes on. While you're reading, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video or shared it with a friend. We're coming up on almost a year of this channel's life, and I'm very blessed you guys have been sticking with me as I experiment with this project. If you want to keep up with how that's going, then subscribe to the channel to see when I post. If you want to throw me some ideas for a video, I have a Discord where we talk about the channel and Magic directly. Lastly, I have a Blue Sky. Follow me there for horrible 2 AM posts about Magic. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Oh, also the Monster Hunter secret layer. That was horrible. Okay, bye for real this time.